Now I'm going to show you that if you have the seat stuck in the inboard side and need it to go the outboard side, it won't work. I'm going to show you how to take care of that. You have to go through the life vest drawer on the bottom. You pull out the life vest drawer. You can reach your hand underneath and pull the cable to slide the seat inboard. Now what we're going to show you is if you have to replace the cables that go to the recline, you have to remove the bucket shroud. If you have a fully upholstered seat, you will probably need to get someone in your upholstery department to help you remove the leather. It has to pull up over the front, over the sides, and in the back. In the front, you have a set of screws here that have to be removed. If you also notice in there, we have some standoffs. Don't lose those because those have to be put back on the seats. Remove all 5 screws on the front, and then we will go to the back and remove the screws there. The leather will be glued underneath the shroud. You have to pull all that off. You have to be able to get to these screws right here to allow us to remove the bucket shroud. Take these screws out here. You also have standoffs in there that you need to make sure you don't lose, because those have to be replaced. You will have one on the side that you have to remove to get the shroud off. Cable that breaks on your recline after you've got the bucket shroud removed, you have to loosen up your seatbelt bolt here, because this top bracket here is attached to that. Just rotate it back out of the way. You can get to your recline cable now. To replace that cable, take your screw out, pull it out. Now remove your cable, your old cable that's broke, and now we're ready to replace it with a new one. Once your cable is removed, you can come back and thread this back through your splitter, down through your conduit, feed that back down through, until it comes out the other side, and then you can pull your rest of your cable through. Now you can thread your swedge on. Use the small swedge. Put it in. Run your thumb up against it to hold it, and crimp it with a set of dikes just to hold it in place. Then you can pull it out, and then you can get your swedgers on it. Crimp it once, rotate it 30 degrees, and crimp it again. Use your cable cutters to cut the excess cable off. And now you can feed it back through your recline. On the cutters, we use the Felco C7s. You actually need those to cut your cables. They're really sharp. If not, you'll get a burr on your cable and you'll never get your crimp put back on there. Put your screw back in. Check for your adjustment to make sure everything works. And now you can put your plate back and tighten it back up. And that's how you replace your cable on your reclines. You can do the same thing on the other side too. When you're adjusting or replacing cables, make sure that you run your conduit forward so you have enough adjustment once your cable is replaced. You got some threads here that are left. You can undo your lock nuts here and run that forward. You don't want it to come past the end of your conduit piece here, the threads, because it is a little bit longer. Just run it even with right here. Tighten up your lock nuts and then redo your cable. Now we're going to talk about where the factory crimps should go and what size. The factory crimps are put on at the factory. They're easier to install. They're also easier on the forward and aft plates, and also the two cables that are in your handle. You just can't get your crimps down in there, crimp them, so you always use the factory crimps down in that. The others, you can use the crimps. You can use the new modified MT 185s, which have been ground down to allow you to get into access of the splitter, or you can use the regular T185s. They're acceptable if you don't have the modified ones. You also use the small crimps on the hydrolock, and the only big crimps that you will use is on the side-to-side cable in the back. On each end, you have to crimp each end with a big crimp. It's just easier to get to with the big ones. Other than that, all of the other crimps are the small crimps. Now what we're going to discuss is where the factory crimps will go. Usually we put those on for the recline mechanism, both sides. They're just easier to feed down through. You have one here and one here, and also in the handle. You also have two cables in the handle, one that goes to the splitter and one that goes to your main cable. Everything on the hydrolock, the splitter, and the recline mechanisms will be the small crimps. If you're in recline position, it will not come back up. You can grab a hold of the seat, it will override, and you can pull the backrest back up. Then we're going to have it, if your chair is in the forward position and you need to go aft, you can come up through, pull the lever, and take the seat aft. And then if you are in the inboard position, you need to go outboard, you can grab the cable and run the chair to the outboard position.